But this is an ancient argument and an ancient discussion. I mean, around 300 or so, the early church fathers decided to completely prohibit all instrumental music in church. All of it. For 1,000 years. For 1,000 years of our church history, and there was only the church then, right? There was no instruments in worship. Zero. And gradually, an instrument snuck in the back door and just supported the singing of the choir. And there are still some traditions today that do that. Our own Reformed tradition, John Calvin was highly suspect, never allowed instruments in worship, highly suspect of it, because he saw these powerful reactions in people and didn't know what did it mean. I would debate that the music made me do it. I think that's an ethical question of, if somebody is predisposed to do something wrong in a certain way, it's not the music that made me go and do that thing. It's something else that was in my head. We can't blame it on the music. That said, as music leadership within the church, we have to deal with powerful responses to what happens. Worship wars are not a new thing. I mean, in 200 to 300 AD, they were struggling with this question. It has forever been because of this powerful response that music has. So, how do we handle this well? How do we do this sensitively? How do we offer things within our worship contexts that are completely contextual, that give the people there their own language to sing, their own language to play, that rings true with them? How do we provide music that challenges that as well? Let's proceed on the assumption that all things are made and all things are fallen, including music. And so what is there about certain aspects of worship that challenge a local culture? And let's say, actually, no, we're not going to do that. We need to challenge this presupposition. What aspects of our music within the context of worship connect us with what went before? I happen to think it's pretty important to know that what we call Gregorian chant was the only music in the church for 800 years. And I think it might not be a bad idea for us to learn some of that. It's spectacular music, as well as music from other cultures. I mean, why wouldn't we learn some Persian Christian music? Why wouldn't we struggle with language and music that's different than ours? We ask other people to do that. So yeah, I mean, there's many ways I think that music plays into the whole scene of our worship context. I just don't buy this idea of relevancy, that in order to draw young people into the church we have to play rock and roll. I'm not sure that's a straight line between those two things. Because frankly we don't do it as well as they hear it on CDs and recordings, and when old people like me get up and try and do music that's supposed to be sung by 20-year-olds, it just looks silly. It just doesn't work. Whereas genuineness, authenticity does sell, excuse the term, authenticity about being real to who we are and being open to other things. I think that's a different thing than trying to be hip when we're 55 years old.